So I was talking to some people the other day about sorcery. And sorcery is this very magical, mystical, esoteric idea of this energy that exists within you that allows you to manifest your reality in a very specific way. And sometimes when you hear about sorcery, thinking about like Merlin or like a little witch in the woods who has all these ingredients that they're collecting, and there's like a very specific spell that they have to do, and that's sorcery. And there are versions of that, especially if you are, from specific lineages that practice herbology or herbalism, or right, like different cultures have different ways to practice sorcery. But the most potent version of sorcery that I've ever come across is a energetic imprint that comes from self-love. Like cliche. Yeah, like, yeah. But actually, let me break this down for you, because this idea that certain things that exist outside of us sometimes is this comforting idea, right? Like we do magic because we collected the proper petals from the flowers, or the moon is the right phase, or our natal chart is aligning up. There's all this like external power that we give to magic and we give to sorcery when your energetic imprint of how much and how you love yourself is the greatest form of sorcery that exists. And we don't want to hear that. Like, we don't want to actually go into that conversation because it's like, oh no, I'm responsible. I don't want to be responsible. I don't want, like, I want to be able to say abracadabra, and I want to be able to say beepity boppity boop and like have the magic happen. And there is versions of that. Like, you can work with elements like, the air, the ether, the wind, the air, the ether, the earth, the planets, like all of the different elements that exist, water and fire. You can work with elements to, amplify sorcery. But the thing about how magic works is that you actually are the source of that energetic imprint. And so when your magic is coming from a place of self-hatred, or you don't like yourself, or you don't believe in the thing that you're like actually praying and wishing for, or manifesting, or writing, or scripting, or whatever the hell that you're doing, if you don't have this energetic love for yourself, manifestation and everything else that you do in your life is just a lot harder. There's just like a little less sprinkle missing from there. There's less glitter missing from like the activity that you're doing. So sorcery is this ability to alchemize what it is that you're experiencing in life, including the shit, including the pain, including joy, and including pleasure. So it's on the spectrum of all the different things that you experience. How is it that you can, one, if you're experiencing things that you don't want to experience, how is it that you can alchemize and transform those things? Or two, if you are experiencing the things that you do want to experience, like pleasure and joy and happiness and contentment and da 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 da, all these different things, how is it that you can amplify those energies, right? So either to alchemize or to amplify what it is that's already going on from you. So for many of us, what happens is when we experience things that are uncomfortable or undesirable, we shut down, we close up, or we do something to overcompensate for that emotion or that feeling. So if it's like, oh, I'm experiencing sadness, I'm going to overcompensate by doing something that brings me pleasure, right? So overeating is one, overindulging is one, Netflix marathons that like really like deplete your energy at the end of the day is another one. You're going to overcompensate because you're currently feeling something that you don't want to feel. I don't want to feel sad. Like, I don't want to feel sad, right? But how is it that I can actually alchemize that sadness into something that's going to be supportive for me going forward? So how can I utilize that sadness? How can I actually lean into that sadness? How can I allow it to teach me something? How can I be vulnerable in a way that feels really uncomfortable for me, and then allow that energy to show me something, rather than saying, no, sad, bad, so I don't want to feel it, so I'm gonna like, shove it over there. I'm gonna put it put it under the rug, because that's not something that I really want to feel. Now, same thing when we're experiencing quote unquote positive emotions, or emotions that, are more desirable, like happiness and joy and pleasure. And like, I feel good. And of course, like, you want more of that. Sometimes you actually don't know what to do with these pleasureful and more desirable emotions either. You don't know how to like amplify it and utilize it to your benefit, and to utilize it towards the things that you actually want to see manifest in your life. Like, how can you utilize emotions as an energy, emotions, energy in motion? How can you utilize that emotion as fuel towards the things that you want to do in your life? So a great example of that is joy. Sometimes we run away from joy because we feel like we have to earn it, or we feel guilty about experiencing joy when things are happening in the world that are uncomfortable, that are not high vibe, not great. There's war, there's death, there's genocide, there's so much discomfort, unreasonable and unwanted emotions that are out there. You might feel guilty experiencing joy. You might feel guilty experiencing pleasure. You might feel guilty enjoying a meal, or enjoying the sun, or enjoying your freedom, or enjoying all the different things that you have. But how is it that you can utilize the joy to fuel the things that are going to support your vision for the world? Perhaps that's your activism. Perhaps that's your art. Perhaps that's your scholarly endeavors. Perhaps that's your writing. Perhaps that's your education. Perhaps fill in the blank, whatever it is. How is it that you can amplify what it is that you're doing by utilizing that emotion as fuel rather than feeling guilty about it? Now, let me kind of step back, because now we're talking about like emotions, and I'll be here for like 12 days if we get into that, that scope of conversation. But essentially, the sorcery that happens within you when you're tapped into this immense amount of love for yourself is that you're able to alchemize the things that are uncomfortable for you, and you're able to amplify the things that are things that you can use to your benefit. And that, my friend, if that's not magic, then what are you going to define as magic? If alchemy is not magic and amplification is not magic, then what the hell is magic? Like what kind of perception do you have of magic that is this, like, that comes from thin air, right? Energy is what works towards sorcery. Energy is what works towards magic. And when you're starting to notice, like, you're already creating magical moments in your life, there are certain things, and I always tell you, that are out of your control, that are not within your specific indirect control. It's indirectly within your realm of what you're experiencing in the universe. But when you're starting to notice, like, there's certain things that happen when you are vibrating in a certain way, even if you feel sad, even if you feel anger, even if you feel things that you don't want to feel, quote unquote, there's a way that you can alchemize that emotion. There's a way that you can hold that emotion in the world that allows you to build something from that emotion. So if you're angry, many people have started great movements from anger. They have started, social justice and civil rights movements from anger because they were fed up with it. They alchemized that anger towards a movement. They put that energy towards something that they wanted to see being created in the world. Same thing with resentment. If you resent, like, the world, the way that the world works, and everything is broken, everything is this and that, there's movements that come from resentment. There's changes and policies that come from people being fed up. There's changes that can take place because of that alchemy that takes place from emotions that are not high vibe. You can utilize that emotions towards those things. Now, when we're talking about sorcery, it sometimes feels more esoteric, it feels more mystical, it feels more magical, because it's like, I don't want to talk about social justice, I don't want to talk about this or that, and like human rights. Like, sometimes those types of topics feel like they're bogging you down. But if you're starting to notice how everything is interconnected, and the more that you're able to give a shit about yourself, the more that you care about yourself, the better boundaries that you have for yourself, the more that you respect yourself, the more that you let yourself rest, and the more that you hold yourself to a certain degree of discipline and consistency, you're going to start to notice, like, magic is inevitable. So the sorcery starts to happen because you're not just allowing energy to sit within you and take over you. You don't just let that sadness take over you. Yeah, you have to allow sadness to come, you allow anxiety to come, you allow depression to come, and then how does it end up alchemizing within you, for you, towards you, and for the things that you want to see and create in the world? How does that happen? And so you start to notice that sorcery is this, like, everyday activity. Like, you start to see that the way that you talk to yourself changes the way that you experience life, the way that you meet different people, the way that you're making connections, the way that you're able to heal through certain things that would take you out for days or weeks at a time, the way that you're able to regulate your emotions, like regulate your nervous system, regulate your energetic body is not taking you for a ride all the time. And if that's not sorcery, then what the hell is sorcery? Like, send me a message, like, what the hell were you expecting, right? And so many of us have this false expectations that when we're doing magic or we're creating, magical moments in our life, it has to be this like, ooh, like weird, like this thing that is like so outside of us. And like, I need to know the exact spell or the way, the exact incantation and the exact thing. And I'll break it down for you. The exact incantation are spells. Incantations are the words that you speak. So what if you were to speak gently with yourself, or with respect towards yourself, or with kindness towards yourself? If the words that were leaving your literal mouth were of kindness and of love towards yourself, if that's not a spell, then what the hell is, right? Like, if that's not an incantation, then what the hell is? You don't need to know, like, oh my gosh, this is how I have to do my eyes or my things for this spell to take place. It's sorcery from within. If that's not the most potent energetic imprint that you can carry with you, then what the hell are you expecting? Do you want the crystal to do the work? Are you wanting the essential oils to do the work? Are you wanting, your teacher or your mentor or your coach or somebody else outside of you to do the work? It's your energetic imprint that is the source of the magic. And if you forget that, let me say it louder. Let me scream into this microphone. It is your energetic imprint that is the magic, okay? We're seeking this magic from many other places. And sometimes many other places can help us remind us of our magic. It can help us amplify our magic, it can help us alchemize our magic and transform our magic. It can remind us, for sure. External things can help us remember and help us, come back to that remembrance. But if we're not paying attention to the fact that the magic is right there, and you are that magical imprint that holds this potent power in your own decision, whether or not you let something take over you, or you decide that I am the magician, I am the mage, and I am the witch, and I am the mystic who can take this uncomfortable situation and I can alchemize this in a way that's going to benefit me in my future, even if right now in this present moment I cannot see how this works because I'm in it, I'm in the shit, so I don't understand that the pain and the grief that I'm going through is going to help me transform this into something really juicy and beautiful in the future. That's the reminder right here. Okay. So if you truly want to learn how to do sorcery, if you are that sorceress, if you want to take on that energetic imprint of something else that you're seeking from others and from other places, from other things, look within yourself. Self-love is the greatest energetic imprint that you're going to come across. Okay. And the more that energy amplifies, you're going to see it reflected in every single thing that you do and touch in your life, in your projects, in what you speak, in the way that you show up, in the way that you look. Your face is going to change, your aura is going to change, your energy is going to change. Everything is going to amplify as this magical piece that is already within you and capable of amplifying within you start to remember how powerful it is that you are. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. So if this episode helped you out, definitely make sure that you're subscribed to this episode and help yourself by tuning into this love that's already within you. All right. And if you are wanting to come into a self-love mentorship with me, you're welcome to join me for 6 weeks inside Loved. It is 6 weeks of working through the 6 principles of self-love and especially working on this piece of magic that already exists within you. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And just remember, the world is your playground. And until next time, I will catch you soon.